Uh, Welcome everybody to the July 3rd meeting of the Board of Adjustment. Call to order. Roll call.
Amy Mitchell. Present. Jane Whalen. Renee Soldwish.
Present.
Lee Bash.
Present.
Deidre Hoover.
Present.
Okay, a call for the agenda approval. I might make a motion, somebody.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. And the second?
I will second that.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes. And let's go to the minutes approval. We have 2 months of minutes that we have to approve. We'll start with the approval of the April meeting. Call for a motion.
I will move to approve those April 3rd minutes.
Thank you, Amy.
I will second that approval.
Thank you, Renee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. And then we seek the same approval for the June 5th meeting. Call for motion.
I'll call for motion.
Thank you.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 I was not here.
Oh, that's right.
I wasn't here, but I did read the minutes. So, yeah, it was a big one.
It was, you're right. It was, you missed
I missed a big one.
maybe one of the longest ones I can remember ever having.
A lot was being discussed.
It was, it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us now to new business and we will consider a request from Alex Gross for a variance for property located at 302 East Trail Ridge Avenue.
So agenda item 5A, we're going over a request by Alex Gross for a variance for the property at 302 East Trail Ridge Avenue. Some background on this request is Alex Gross on behalf of SHDC LLC has submitted a variance application for 302 East Trail Ridge Avenue. This request is to decrease the minimum required clear glass fenestrations for primary facades. And this proposal would not conform to a section in the City of Indianola Code of Ordinances. A summary of the request is that, again, the request is to decrease the minimum required clear glass fenestrations for primary facades. This decrease would happen on the west street facing facade, which is supposed to be at 20%, but the request is to decrease it by 14% for a minimum clear glass fenestration requirement of 6%. And the proposed image on the right shows the site and the west, south, and north facades of this property.
Reset this real quick. You can see yourself, sorry.
You need us to reconnect.
Yeah, you might need to reconnect. I don't know I don't know what's going on.
Perfect. So
Okay.
again, those images on the right will show
Thank you.
the west, south, and north facades of the property. So the image now on the left. There it goes. Okay. So the image on the left shows the subject property, which is zoned for the C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District. And then that image on the right shows the subject property as having a future land use map designation of regional mixed use. And this designation guides for uses such as retail, office, restaurants, bars, and other personal, business, or commercial services. So this slide is an overview of the west facade of the site, which is the facade facing North Jefferson Way. And as the chart shows, in the highlighted portion, the clear glass fenestration On the west facade has only 6% of that clear glazing. And here is the overview of the south or the front facade of the site, which is the facade that is facing East Trail Ridge Avenue. And the clear glass, oh, just kidding.
No idea what's going on.
Is that too long?
You may have to do it from over here. I don't think my cord's that long. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's okay.
It happens.
It's the 21st century.
Oh, look at that. Fancy.
Connected to the network. It's saved on the network. That's why. That's why. No, where it was. It's so much. You're watching me. Doesn't work. I might have to try my-
Can we go off the material we have in the agenda? We all have it here.
So I don't think we have any more images past the facade photos, so if you guys don't mind not having a presentation.
No, just go
No.
ahead and,
That's
go
fine.
ahead and just read it.
Just take it to the-
It's fine.
On my laptop. I have one. Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
thank
you.
you.
We tried.
Happens.
So going back to that south facade, which you can't see, but it's the facade that is facing East Trail Ridge Avenue. And that clear glass fenestration in the chart shows that the facade has 26% of clear glazing. And this actually exceeds the 20% minimum of clear glass fenestration requirement by 6%. And again, this variance is for one of the codes in the city zoning code, which is that at least one street facing building facade and the facade containing the main building entry, if different from the street facade, shall consist of no less than 20% clear glass fenestrations on the first level. So now we're gonna go over the 4 findings of fact. So all of which must be found favorably by the Board of Adjustment in order for the variance to be approved. The first finding of fact asks whether special conditions or circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land that are not applicable to other like zoned properties. And the zoning code requires again 20% clear glass fenestrations on at least one facade facing a public or private street. Although the site fronts North Jefferson Highway, the access is via East Trail Ridge Avenue through a private road. So the south building elevation does not qualify as a street facing facade if it fronts an internal or private drive, which it does. And because of the site, lot orientation and access to the site, it is peculiar compared to other properties within the C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District. So because of that, staff finds that this finding of fact to be favorable. The second finding of fact asks if a right would be deprived of the property owner that is commonly enjoyed by other properties. And staff finds that the request would result in a hardship of the property owner. The applicant in their narrative expressed that the variance was requested to meet franchise facade requirements required by the prospective tenant for unit number 1 of the commercial strip. The applicant is providing sufficient glass on the south primary entrance designated as the main customer entrance. Although this facade isn't officially considered street facing, it will be visible from East Trail Ridge Avenue due to its proximity. Therefore, the proposal aligns with the intent and purpose of the zoning code. While other properties are usually required to adhere to this requirement, buildings in this zoning district usually position their main customer entrances and street-facing facades towards public streets or highways, not private access drives. So staff finds that this criteria is also met. The third finding of fact asks whether conditions or hardships experienced by the applicant are self-imposed. The enforcement of the clear glass fenestration requirement poses a hardship on the applicant, requiring more clear glass than typically required for commercial building along North Jefferson Way. While the applicant plans to lease Unit 1 to a specific tenant with their own architectural preferences, which could be seen as self-imposed, the requirement itself could create hardship by mandating additional glass than usual for highway commercial buildings. And as noted earlier, the lot's orientation necessitates applying a 20% clear glass fenestration requirement to both the west and south primary facades. And the code specifies that only a street facing facade or the one containing the main customer entrance must meet this glass requirement. Because of that, staff finds that this criteria is also met. And the final finding of fact asks if a special privilege will be granted to the applicant that is otherwise denied to other lands, structures, or buildings within the same zoning district. Staff finds that there would not be a special right or privilege given to the property owner that other property owners within the C2 zoning district do not have. If approved, this variance would reduce required clear glass fenestrations from 20% by 14% to make it a minimum requirement of 6%. This is to specifically accommodate Starbucks operation needs. And staff supports this finding, noting that the site's characteristics differ from typical highway commercial properties, ensuring that granting the variance would not unfairly privilege the property owner over others in the district. So staff finds that this criteria is also met. Some points to consider is that the variance is favorable towards all findings of fact outlined in the zoning code. The property characteristics are unique, including access to the site. These characteristics impact the applicability of the minimum clear glass fenestrations requirement. The main customer entrances for the development are oriented to the south, and the south building facade is visible from East Trail Ridge Avenue and exceeds the minimum glass fenestration requirement. The property exceeds building material requirements for other visible primary facades located on the site. The variance is created by the regulations and does not arise from an action or desire of the applicant. And granting the variance would not provide a right and privilege that other properties do not have. And two final points to consider is that deviation from the zoning code regulations would be in harmony with the intent and purpose of the zoning code. And an unnecessary hardship does exist if the request is denied, as the property owner would be required to apply additional glass fenestrations than required of the typical highway commercial property. So overall, for this request, staff is recommending approval of the variance request. And please note that if the variance were to be denied, the Board of Adjustment should be prepared to summarize for inclusion in the minutes of the meetings its reasons to deny, which will serve as the application's decision and order.
And really quick, one thing to note with this application too is that we are proposing a code that will go to planning and zoning next week to provide like a building material alternative guideline. So if they want to request alternatives to their primary facades, they would fill out a formal application that wouldn't necessarily require a variance or going through the same findings of fact that you would need in this hearing. But obviously ordinances take months long to pass. So that is something that staff has, not just in this request itself, but in other requests as well, and site plans we've considered, and we're taking that to.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Straightforward.
Beg your pardon?
It's pretty
I
straightforward.
think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's very straightforward. Are you here to speak to this?
Only if you had questions.
Well, you just saw we don't have any
Yeah.
questions.
So,
So if you have nothing else to say, then I'll seek a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the request for the variance.
A second?
I will second that.
Can we vote on that, please?
Amy Mitchell,
Yes.
Renee Goldwich,
Yes.
Lee Bash,
Yes,
and Deidre Hoover.
Yes.
thank you. I think that brings us to closure here. If you have a motion to.
I make a motion that we adjourn. I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful 4th of July.
Have a great 4th of July, everyone.
Emily, this looks like you're not gonna have